It was my husband and I working 5 jobs between the two of us, pure madness to get out of student loan debt, thinking that was the way. I had to exchange every single hour for the dollar. And then when I found real estate, it's like, oh my goodness, there's leverage, there's strategy, there's cost segregation studies. There are ways to not have to exchange every single hour for a dollar.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. I'm your host, as always, Yona Weiss. So excited today. We have an awesome guest for you. I hope you guys are tuned in and in a place where you can listen to this whole episode, because I guarantee you it is going to be a good one. I already have the feeling. So we have Rachel Gainsbrugh on the show. Doctor, correct? If I'm not mistaken, right? You don't have the doctor in front of your name right now. It confused me for a second.
You're right.
Welcome. How are you?
Oh, thank you, Jonas, so much for having me on the show. I'm just so grateful to be here today. You always put out some of the best high-value content. I really hope this show gets shared all over the interwebs, because I know how much work comes into putting something like this together. And I know that there are friends and family who will need to hear this episode as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, there's not much work that goes into this. We just have a fun conversation, and then I hand it off to my editors. So they do all the work. Shout out to them, because they do an awesome job. And then we just put it up online, and the whole world gets to listen to it. And hopefully this will make a big impact, because like I said, you've made a big impact. And so I want to give you the opportunity to kind of share with my audience what that journey has been like for you. I mean, I mentioned in passing you were a doctor, but now you have been for years in the real estate business, specifically in the short-term and midterm rental business, which hospitality is a pretty far cry from medicine.
Absolutely. And believe it or not, though, I'm going to challenge you on that. It comes from the space of being in patient care. Now it's like guest care. So there is a lot more parallels than I would have ever imagined myself. So it's not night and day. It's quite similar in some ways, overall. But a little bit about me. I'm originally from Haiti, a little girl from Haiti, raised in the inner city of Miami. Did all the things. I thought that education was the absolute and only way. So went on to get my doctorate in pharmacy and loved the profession, loved my patients, but there was some moral injury happening there as well. I had faced a significant burnout, walked away from school with nearly $500,000 in student loans between my husband and I. I don't know if you knew that about us, Yona.
That's a lot. That's a lot than average. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was a lot. And so we went to private schools, faith-based schools. So it was quite pricey, but ultimately we started following a financial literacy expert in the space, and our debt snowball, started to get out of debt, but towards kind of seeing what the future held, kind of wanting to future pace myself, I determined, what happens on the other side of being in this amount of debt? And so once we tackled it, we were nearly halfway there. We put on our bigger pockets hat and started listening to podcasts on real estate investing. And that was a game changer for us. And we started to invest in real estate. And that essentially changed the trajectory of our lives. And we haven't looked back since.
That's pretty wild. I mean,
yeah.
And I assume, I'm just making an assumption here, that you've been able to pay back all the student loans at this point, and then some. Well, hopefully not then some, but a lot of interest, I'm sure. Lots of interest.
For sure. Imagine writing out checks that are 3 and 4x your monthly mortgage to Sally Mae. It was like harrowing. Goodness gracious.
Wow. It's incredible, though, how so many young people are really kind of thrown under the bus, in a sense, to just get so deep into debt that they don't even know what to do with this. I mean, thank God that you and your husband were able to kind of get out of it, finding real estate. But the vast, vast, vast majority of people are not as fortunate as you have been. And, I really feel bad for a lot of people, but you're doing your part now to educate people like that who are kind of in that situation and see how they can also use real estate to do the same.
Absolutely. And that was what propelled me. It angered me. I'm going to be fully transparent. I was angry, Yona. And I don't think I've ever shared this before. I was angry. I was devastated. I felt like I was sold a bill of goods that was just a lie. And I determined that everyone needs to know about this. And then when I put on my real estate hat, I realized everyone needs to know about this because it was my husband and I working 5 jobs between the two of us, pure madness to get out of student loan debt, thinking that was the way. I had to exchange every single hour for the dollar. And then when I found real estate, it's like, oh my goodness, there's leverage, there's strategy, there's cost segregation studies. There are ways to not have to exchange every single hour for a dollar. And we weren't taught that, nobody ever taught me this. My parents, like I said, a little girl from Haiti, we grew up in the inner city. There was no financial literacy being discussed at our table. Matter of fact, there weren't finances to literate upon.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel so, right? It's like, what finances? So I feel passionate about this. I'm like, okay, all the girls that look like me need to know about this. I feel like other people that look a certain way, they may have a little bit more access than me, but I was just listening to, I think it was a podcast yesterday. It says women were able to put a credit card in their own name in 1975. I'm like, so there's that gap, right? There's definitely a gap. And so I feel like we have some catching up to do. And so although I'm open and I love to teach everyone, but those that gravitate towards me the most are the women in medicine, women of color in medicine who are like, what is diversification? What is cost segregation? What are these tax things you're talking about? And it just brightens me up. It's been a game changer. We help over 270 docs get across the finish line and leverage real estate. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that you do a lot. I've joined your group a couple of times. You have Facebook groups, you have a coaching program, kind of mastermind, bring people together. And it's true. There are so many people out there. I mean, I laugh when you said, when you have even the finances to talk about financial literacy, but it's so true. And I think so many people are in that boat, and being in the place that you're in now to pay it forward and give back, I think is probably one of the most admirable things, to be honest, because being a teacher myself for many years, that's, basically what I still do all day is just kind of give back and teach people, because there's so many things that people don't even know that can change their lives, literally change their lives when it comes to how they can, change it. Because you change your finances, it changes your whole situation. People say, money can't buy happiness. And I totally agree with that. Although I'll throw in a caveat in a second there that I heard from one of my podcast guests a while ago. I'll come back to that in a second. But they say money can't buy happiness. But the truth of the matter is, if you're in debt and you're struggling and trading your hours for money, guess what? You're probably not in a very happy place. And so therefore having the luxury of being able to not have to worry about money, by creating passive income, creating real estate ways to multiple streams of income. Yes, that won't make you happy, but that will certainly relieve you of the stress and give you the ability to find what it is that will make you happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just remember that when we were first starting out, the trajectory of our lives were, again, you work these hours, you hope there's some overtime, you leverage your paycheck, the overtime, all of that. And the paradigm shift for us was that, there's another way of doing this. Why hasn't anyone shared this with us? And that was the aha moment for us. And I really hope to share that with the community at large. It's not necessarily, you can actually work a little bit less and still make more. It's like, how is that even possible? And so that is the power of just, shifting your mindset, shifting your strategy completely and tapping into the knowledge that's out there. The knowledge I know that you share on a weekly basis. And that's why I love sticking in your community on, I know you're sharing on LinkedIn. You have that heart of a teacher.
Yeah.
And it's a game changer for sure.
Yeah, you're talking about the ability to move from one profession and working, basically trading your hours. And then you could do something where you're making more and working less. But let's not kind of make it sound like it's totally passive income. I mean, obviously you still have a job, right? You're still working because you're managing and operating rentals, which is not completely passive for sure. I'm sure that you have tons of amazing systems and processes that it's much easier.
For sure.
But, it's still time, right?
It is. But the time for money trap is different, right? So I don't make money by how many hours I'm clocking in, so to speak. So that is the trade-off for me. Yes, it is not, what I do is not passive. And for those who have heard that short-term rental investing is passive income, no, it's not. Especially if you're getting started, right? It's just you're putting in the work, you're building out how you want things to be set up, how you want things to be said, and you want it to be in your own voice because you essentially are responsible for your own business. And once you've got, your property DNA set up, once you have your systems, your playbook, your standard operating procedures, and you've got that all well organized, you can hand that off to an assistant to help you out. So, for me, the first thing that I handed off, honestly, was the cleaning. I was actually cleaning my own properties and making beds. After making 12 beds, I was like, this is not, I'm sweating making beds, So I'm like, okay, this is a lot. So I handed off the cleaning to cleaners that did a way better job than me. They made beds quicker and they were more efficient. From there, I started to look, okay, this is great. This is highly levered. What do I hand off next? And what do I hand off next? And one of the big things that I handed off, I thought I could handle it, but I wasn't doing a real good job. Full transparency, was a bookkeeper. So that's important as well, right? To take advantage of all that's available to you from a tax write-off strategy, tax write-off perspective. So,
There's so many things that, we think we can do on our own. And it's like that paradigm shift of, the who, not how.
That was the book that I was going to share. Yes.
Oh, no.
So good.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good to talk about this because it's so important. And you know what? There are some people, and if this is you, I'm putting you on the spot, that don't listen all the way to the end to hear the final 4 questions. So we're going to talk about who, not how right now, because this is a book that has transformed so many people's lives, including myself, because it changed a lot for me, business-wise as well, when I'm just, started handing off stuff. Email was something that took me so many hours a day. Just constantly hundreds of clients. Just I have to respond to every single email as fast as possible. And then I got an assistant who is incredible and handles email. And then I got a second one who does even more. And it's like, okay, they're actually answering emails in my name and no one knows the difference. But they do such a good job at it that it saves me hours and hours of every single day. So that's just something that's huge for me. But you started off with one property, I assume, right? And then kind of scaled. When did you realize, at what point, that is like, okay, if we keep buying more properties, we're going to just keep scaling this business? And I mean, first of all, I should stop myself because you haven't stopped, right? You keep acquiring, you keep buying more and more.
Yeah. And you know what, we are at, I would call it our equilibrium state. So we will purchase and we will sell off. So we're at really a good steady state because unlike a lot of my counterparts, I actually believe in less is more. I believe in what I call the 2-door strategy. And what that is 2 doors will double your opportunity. So I love to invest in one short-term rental and one mid-term rental. That's what I advocate for our community. And I found that provides them the ability to maximize profitability and diversify. You have one property in a vacation rental market that's getting those high value bookings and one property that is in a market that's leveraging midterm rentals to give you that stability and that flexibility and the lack of turnover. And that is what I advocate. And it comes from a place of first-hand experience and understanding the pain points of my audience. And, contrary to popular belief, I do believe that, you only need 2 really well-positioned doors or 2 really well-positioned properties to be wildly profitable.
Wow.
So I do. And 2 can actually replace or close to replace that W-2, that high income W-2 salary based on where you're investing. So if you're in that vacation rental market, you've got that one door that can, depending on, how you acquire it, the size. I like to go a little bit bigger to accommodate multi-generational families. That specific property that's leveraging the short-term rental strategy is able to take advantage of all of the tax benefits that come with short-term rental, cost segregation study, bonus depreciation, all of that good stuff. And if we're able to leverage the midterm rental, position it like a short-term rental at first towards the end of the year, we can still take advantage of that. And don't come after me, IRS, but transition it into potentially a midterm rental. So I've seen our members able to maximize their returns while minimizing their energy output. I say it's not only about ROI, it's also about ROE, your return on energy, your return on enjoyment, your return on effort. That matters, Yoda, to us women who are fighting for our lives out here with 2 kids. I've got a whole husband, 2 dogs, 2 boys, it matters. So I'm always looking for a way to give our members that pocket of rest so that you're not necessarily chasing down properties that are not high quality, not very ideal. And so it's a different perspective. We look at it from a different lens. So we have grown though, like I'm a part of a number of networks and deals come my way. We've grown. We're at 18 doors. But if we're down to 15 or we're at 22 at one point, we're down to 18, we're building one, we're investing overseas, abroad. And so we're looking at a variety of things, Yana. But for us, we're at equilibrium. I'm not looking to pile on 100 doors per se. I'm not her. For those who are that person, wonderful, more power to you. But for me and my community, we're more of a less is more type of vibe for sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, 18 is not that small of a number in terms of properties. It took you years to kind of scale up to that point, but
for sure.
I'm sure that the systems that you built, you talked about the property DNA and all the kind of stuff that you're figuring out, really just is kind of copy and paste for a lot of ways from one property to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. And that's the beauty of this business, right? If you're able to repeat and refine, repeat and refine, repeat and refine, I think for any business owner, that's going to be a strategy for success. I think for me and many in our community, we sometimes get shiny object syndrome. We want to burn it down and start all over. Don't do that. Just keep repeating the same thing and just adjusting and refining. And you'll find more success that way rather than starting from scratch every single time.
Yeah. So I think I asked half this question before, but didn't get to finish it, which was at what point were you able to say, okay, we're done with the W-2 and or just going full time into real estate? How long into it, or how many properties, or did you just kind of burn the ship and jump in?
That's a great question. You know what? At the 22 property mark, like I said, we've scaled back. I think, I could have walked away a little bit sooner, but we don't go into medicine to leave medicine. I never intended on leaving, to be honest with you. That was not the goal for me. I actually wanted to heal healthcare because our healthcare system needs some help. I wanted to, create radical change, but I felt every single day that I walked into my workplace, I got a little bit more itchy. I don't know how to explain it. It was like, I couldn't put my finger on it. And I just got an email. I had anticipated on leaving a year later than my quit date. I got an email that just didn't resonate with me. It was about a new initiative that really didn't make any sense. It wasn't serving the patients. It wasn't serving the members on our team. I said, you know what? I rage quit. That was it. So, and it was quite psychological, if I'm being honest with you. And the reason I hadn't left, I had some limiting beliefs, some mindset things that I was dealing with. It's if I leave, am I no longer a doctor? If I leave, well, who am I? What's my identity? My identity was wrapped up in my profession, which I didn't realize. And then I was like, so that was really jarring for me. I was essentially trading my sanity for the security. It's really high paying role, the golden handcuffs, all of those things came into play. But I had dreams, I had goals, I had the impact that I was making in the community. And I felt as though, you know what, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it now. And so it's been a little bit over a year since I walked away. Yes, and not too
Congratulations.
long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And, I think so many people can relate to what you just said. So many people are wrapped up in, their
Yeah.
profession. And that's what we're trained to do. I mean, we go to school and we get a job and we get so
Yeah.
sucked into it, the golden handcuffs. That's a real thing. And I think a lot of our listeners also are in the same boat and kind of can relate to that. So making that choice or making that decision of just like, okay, that's it. Thankfully you had already at that point the luxury to be able to do that because you
Yeah.
had built over the years this, this beautiful portfolio of properties that was, generating income. A lot of people don't have that. A lot of people, they don't, and they don't know what to do. But
Yeah.
it's never too late to get started today, right? If you're hearing this, today's a great day to decide I'm going to look into buying my first property, or I'm going to start to, invest, or whatever it is, because you never know how,
Yeah.
one property, or like you said, the two-door strategy, right? Two properties can completely, make that equilibrium change your life.
Absolutely. Just set a date. I say, you know what? Set a date and work backwards. So if your date, you say, I'm going to either cut back. I have members of our community who cut back to 2 days a month or 3 days a month. Or if you want to just walk away altogether and try out a new interest, what is that date? Is it May 14th, 2025, about a year away? Is it December 31st, 2024? Figure out what that date is and work your way backwards. We know it takes about 30 days to close on a property.
Mhm.
It might take a week or two to actually figure out what market you want to invest in and find your team that you want to work with, a well-positioned realtor. It takes, a couple weeks to partner with the right tax strategist to help you figure out what your goals are. So once you set that date, just work backwards to build upon achieving the goal and write us back and let Yona and I know what date that you set. And we look forward to cheering you on.
Yeah, and I think that probably the most important point that you kind of mentioned there, or inferred, was taking action, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to set that date and then just, the date comes, you're like, okay, I didn't do anything. Well, now what? No, you got to take massive action in order to make it work. Wow, Rachel, you actually, I see in the notes over here, and I didn't actually know this until I read the notes from our scheduling. I have like a whole place where you can kind of list your bio and all that kind of stuff over here. But you were featured on a Netflix special.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes.
I
Okay.
didn't
So
know
this
that.
was hilarious.
Tell me all about it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's one of those shows that set up kind of like Shark Tank, but they were called the Tycoons. And so I was featured a couple of years ago on a Netflix TV show that showcased our luxury midterm rental property. We were actually contacted by a data mining tool called AirDNA, as well as a casting company called Mystic Arts. And they had seen the pricing that we're getting on a month-to-month basis on the back end. Guys, it was insane what we were getting on this property. The mortgage was $2,500 a month. Our first month, we made $28,000, which was insane.
1 second. Let me just repeat that. You made $28,000 in your first month?
Yes.
On one property?
On one property.
Okay. Keep going.
The two-door strategy. Like, am I like, are you picking up what I'm putting down, right?
Oh, yeah,
Just
I get
2 doors. Where you're like, okay, 2 doors does make sense at that level. And this was in a suburban market in Georgia, but we had tapped into something. And so they invited us to the TV show. And it was all due to, again, having my systems in place, putting on one of the last steps that we leverage when we are launching a property is we turn on something called a dynamic pricing tool. I was expecting this property to generate around $8,000 or $9,000 a month. When the tool got turned on, it was using AI. It listed the property for $28,000. I said, okay, this is outrageous. That is not reasonable. Let me turn off this data tool, Yona. Before I got to turn it off, it was booked at $28,000, then $21,000, then $15,000, month after month after month. And I had to think to myself, oh my goodness, I would have trained it to, reduce the pricing because I knew what the market was generating. I know my market to a T. And it was just the opportunity of leveraging, working with corporations like insurance companies, working with the filming industry. I was thinking of people like you and me, we're not out here paying $28,000 a month for rent, like individuals, like we just,
Correct. Right.
We're not doing that.
Families are not going on vacation and it's spending that much. No.
Right. So, but these are corporations, and it was a whole different avatar, and we tapped into that and we doubled down on that. We're like, oh, okay, so this is how it's done. And so this is what we teach inside of our community, how to leverage working with these corporations who are placing actually families who are displaced from their homes due to disaster, and your insurance companies like Allstate, State Farm, Progressive, they pay for those stays and their pockets are deeper. And the amount they pay per month is based on the property's overall rebuild value. So a whole different calculation than what I was accustomed to.
Wow. That's incredible. And so they featured you on this show and they showcased the property.
They showcased the property. So awesome. I pitched it and I received the all cash offer on a property that I purchased a year ago right there on live TV, which was amazing. International live TV. So that was super cool.
Wow. So did you end up selling, or what was the...
I'm under NDA, but let's just say yes.
Right. Well, that's so cool. They just...
You heard it here.
Yeah, right?
It was super cool, right?
That's incredible. That's awesome. Well, good for you, because you learned the systems, and so then you could sell that property and then just go do it again, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I essentially, repeat and refine, I essentially built a buy box around this is the type of property in this kind of market and these type of A minus B plus neighborhoods and so on and so forth, right? Rinse and repeat.
That's so awesome. This is so amazing. I want to transition now to what we call the final four. And so these are 4 questions that I ask all my guests. And the first question for you, which when I told you these before the show, you were very eager about this first one. It seemed like to tell about it. So I'm going to jump with the first question, which is, what was the worst job that you ever had?
I was 17 years old and I was hired to be a telemarketer selling some weird insurance product over the phone. I got hung up on every single day for about a week. I totally got fired by the end of the first week. I cried on my way home. I was walking home. It was a total disaster.
No more telemarketing from that point on.
No more telemarketing, no.
Yeah, it takes a special type of person to be able to do that long term. I tell you.
Goodness. They're like, you're calling a story dinner. I was like, I'm so sorry. And my boss was like, no, buckle up and do it. I was like, it was a total disaster.
Oh, wow. Okay, so second question, of which I think I know the answer to this one, but what's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
Who Not How by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Let me tell you, being a handy, industrious young lady from Haiti, I'm the girl who's like, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. But I realized when I am able to go further, it's because of those that I have added onto my team. And so just like you, no more poring over emails and struggling to respond, especially those activities, again, that drain you. By the time you're done responding, your energy level and your energy tank is probably down, to nothing. And then you're not able to show up and to teach and educate it with the, enjoyment that you have. So that for me was a paradigm shift. I've met people in my life who absolutely love pouring through email, love doing the minutia of the back end of our course. They love the little systems and all of that. And they do it with, a full heart. It gives them energy. I'm like, why don't you want to get on a podcast? They say they would rather die. So for me, this is like fun. And they're like, absolutely not. I think that's hilarious. So that's why I'm like the face of the business, because this is what I actually love to do, is to be out there sharing with people. And then for the things that I don't love doing, I'm able to outsource them. I would say 80% of the things I do on a day-to-day basis, I absolutely love. 20% I don't love as much, but I have to do it. It's the CEO. Right. So I'm okay with that versus the other way around.
100%. And there's so many people that are kind of caught up in that. I think almost everyone has that in them, that just, I need to do it and I can do it better than someone else. When really that's not necessarily true. And even if it is, you may be able to do it better, but the time that it's taking, the time is so much more valuable than the action that it causes, right? If you value your time, which, I mean, you could be making $28,000, right? With the time being spent in the right places. Absolutely. And doing things that, are like a $10, $15 an hour thing to be doing. It's just, it doesn't work. Like, it doesn't make sense that you should be doing that. So highly recommend the book. I listened to it first on audio, and then I got a physical copy and gone over it so many times. Just like so incredible. Really paradigm shift. So yeah, guys, if you haven't checked this out yet, we'll make sure to put it in the show notes, but who not how, check it out. Third question, which is, what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
Okay, a skill is to efficiently construct a property. So we're under construction right now. I'm going through all of the steps with our builder, our contractor, the engineer, all of that. So I want to be very efficient there. A talent would be learning piano. Oh my goodness, I tried. My brain, like both hands, they don't want to listen to where they're supposed to go. So the struggle is real, but I would love to learn one day. I used to play when I was younger, but I've totally lost my ability to play now. So I want to learn that again.
All right. Well, good for you. I wish you best of luck with doing that. That's awesome. And fourth and final question, Rachel, what does success mean to you?
Oh, success to me, believe it or not, when I was in grad school, one of our activities, I did medical missions. One of our activities was actually going to a cemetery and reading gravestones. And so I think about that from time to time. What do I want to be said of my gravestone? And it's not like, oh, she was the hardest worker. That's not a vibe at all. So for me, it's just being remembered for paying it forward, for the impact that I make to my family, to my community, and to, the world at large. So that is what success looks like to me.
Love it. That's so powerful. It really is. It's deep. And I think a lot of people don't think about that enough.
Yeah.
What kind of impact are you going to leave? And in the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to,
Yeah, 100%.
Wow, Rachel, this has really been awesome. I'm so grateful. And I'm always kind of mixed feelings that, yes, I keep it at half an hour. It's so jam-packed, so much fun, but we could seriously just keep going for who knows how long. But I'm torn, and we're keeping with the schedule. So it's been awesome. Where can our listeners find you or reach out to you if they want to?
Yeah, I have a free resource for the audience. So if you want to go to 75gems.com, that's www.75gems.com. You'll get access to a free resource I have, which is the top 75 cities with the highest profitability for short-term and mid-term rentals. And that'll put you in our community. You'll get the links to our free Facebook group as well.
Awesome. And you can follow her on all the socials also with short-term gems.
Yeah.
Gems. I love that. Love that. You even it's so on branding because even you responded to my chat with a gem, like a thumbs up or like a heart or something, Yeah, good for you. Awesome, Rachel. Thank you again so much. This has really, really been awesome.
Thank you, Yona, for having me. I appreciate you.
And to our listeners, thank you all for joining us all the way to the end once again. And remember, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.